Hello, welcome to Chatter Boxing. I'm Sean, and I want to talk about the comparisons that have been made and are still being made about the Golovkin Brook and Canelo Khan fights. There are obvious similarities. Both of them, Brook and Khan, are both welterweights. They've both gone up in weight to fight against opponents who they are expected to lose to. Um, I, Everybody picked Canelo to beat Khan. Everybody's picking Golovkin to beat Brook. So that is a similarity between them. But people saying that it's basically exactly the same thing, the situation is effectively identical, and it's very hypocritical of Golovkin and his team after saying what they said about Canelo. And there may be an element of truth in the last part of that, but I don't think the situations are the same at all. Um, Not in terms of the fight, but more importantly, in terms of the situation surrounding it. Much more importantly, the situation surrounding it. In the case of Canelo, he beat Cotto, and then Golovkin was his mandatory. He was then told, or he made a deal with Golovkin's team that he could fight one more, like another fight first, like a kind of tune up to get himself ready to fight at that weight. So you could have been forgiven at that point for thinking, he's going to try and fight with someone like, I don't know, they were talking about like Rosado was one name that was knocking about, Curtis Stevens, someone like that, someone kind of who fights at middleweight, someone who could have been a bit of a test for him, at least in terms of their physical size, strength, etc. He picked Amir Khan, keyword there being picked, Amir Khan who famously can't take a punch. People may, blow it out of proportion slightly, but the fact is, he's been knocked out at lightweight. He's been knocked out at light welterweight. He's been knocked over various times. Like he'd been knocked over various times. He'd been kind of, he's shown that he doesn't have the durability. He doesn't have the physical strength. He doesn't have the toughness to really compete in his own weight class at the top level. I mean, there's a reason why he avoided the Kell Brook fight, because he would have got knocked out in that. Absolutely, in my opinion. Keith Thurman would have knocked him out. Errol Spence would have knocked him out. Sean Porter probably would have knocked him out. Danny Garcia had already knocked him out. Now, Amir Khan's best days were at light welterweight, and it was a few years ago. He's obviously good. He has his attributes, but he's not able to compete at the top level, in my opinion, at welterweight because of him not being able to take a punch and not being physically strong enough to really kind of keep people off him. Even you saw like Chris Algieri able to just kind of bully him and like push him around. So we knew that about Amir Khan already. We'd seen him various times knocked out, knocked over, etc. As I just said. This was his choice, his first choice of opponent, Canelo. Now Canelo's somebody who every man and his dog in boxing wants to fight. People make a lot of money fighting him, a lot of exposure, fights in front of big crowds, on TV, there's like big audiences, everybody wants to fight him. He could have fought pretty much anyone he wanted to middleweight, depending on the individual circumstances at that particular time of each person. But in principle, he could have fought anyone. He could have fought against, I know they talked about Rosado at one point, someone like Curtis Stevens, Billy Joe Saunders. He could have had all sorts of credible opponents at middleweight, or he could have even had a decent fight against someone like 154. Again, depending on the individual circumstance of the person, but he has a lot of options there, and he had a lot of time, as far as I know. But he chose to fight Amir Khan. Obviously, by doing so, it made it very clear that he had no intentions of fighting Golovkin next. if at all, but definitely not next. So that's and this is like something that you know Canelo's been kind of keeping himself at that weight for a long time. You know, a lot of people think to avoid Golovkin, quite possibly. I mean, I can't really think of any other reason why he's not doing it to avoid Chris Eubank. Obviously, he likes to have a weight advantage over people, but he's massive for that weight, and he should be fighting at middleweight. So, in spite of all the options that he had, he chose to fight against Amir Khan. Okay, that's the first distinction. If you compare that with the situation of Golovkin, where nobody wants to fight Golovkin. In reality, you've got people like, Lara says things on Twitter, never sent an offer. Um, Billy Joe Saunders says he'll do it for the right amount of money, but they haven't really been able to make that fight. Danny Jacobs is saying that he'll do it in like however long, like was it like 2 years time or 18 months? Um, he just doesn't have like I mean, and he wants to stay at middleweight. He wants to sort of unify, but he doesn't have the options that Canelo has for starters. So he hasn't picked Kell Brook specifically. It's not like he just sort of went out like with Eddie Hearn and said, "Oh, come with me, mate. Walk along. Here's a line. There's this bloke. There's that bloke. There's that one." He's going, "Oh yeah, I'll fight him," as if everybody was wanting to fight him, and he just did that, which effectively is what Canelo could do. I mean, he could have fought anyone he wanted within reason, and he chose Amir Khan in good time as well. Whereas in the Golovkin situation, they had an opportunity. It was opportunism, I think. Chris Eubank, they're trying to make that fight. That would have been a credible opponent. He wanted to fight in the UK on Sky TV, a new market, good experience. Obviously for like the idea of getting a Billy Joe Saunders fight, because while he's got the WBO belt, that's obviously what he wants to do eventually. So everything was in place. They had the venue, they had the TV dates. He was earning a lot of money, and then that fell through. So they then get offered the Kell Brook fight. So yeah, it's not ideal. It's not good public relations really from them, because it does make people think, oh well, you're just doing the same thing as what Canelo's doing. It's not really the same thing. It's not. It's kind of similar, but it's not exactly the same thing. I think one of the problems with boxing fans or people in general, people are so quick to just not really look at the whole picture and just sort of jump on, oh look, there he goes, exactly the same thing, and he's done exactly. I don't think he has. I don't think it's the same thing. I think the big distinction for me is that Canelo chose from a load of options, plenty of time to fight, an overmatched opponent. Whereas Golovkin wanted to fight someone better. He wanted to fight Canelo for starters. Then he wanted to fight Billy Joe Saunders, Danny Jacobs. He couldn't. Chris Eubank. He's in a situation where an opportunity presents itself. Yeah, it is a bit of a mismatch, at least on paper, and he gets a load of criticism for it. But he takes it, and now he's going to earn a load of money. He's going to fight in the UK, and he's going to get a load of criticism. But to be honest, he's getting a load of criticism anyway. So he probably just thought, well, why not? Why don't I just do this? I'm not just going to throw away this opportunity, because then realistically, what's he going to do? Because he's spent all that time preparing for it with Chris Eubank, and then that's fallen through. So people say, oh, why doesn't he like sort of fight Lara? I mean, there's never been any serious offer made by Lara. So what's he going to do? Like kind of then like spend another like month or so trying to sort something out with him, sort out another venue, sort of TV dates for a lot less money, something that probably won't even happen anyway. So, you know, yeah, it's not a fight. To be honest, I'm more disappointed from the perspective of Kell Brook. I would have preferred to have seen Kell Brook fight people that I think he could have much more chance against. In terms of Golovkin, it is what he'll do that, and then he'll probably try to carry on making fights with what would be seen as more credible opponents. So yeah, that's why I don't think the two situations are the same. In terms of the fight itself, well, first of all, I think Kell Brook is much better than Amir Khan. He's also a lot bigger. He's tougher. He's unbeaten as well. So we've never seen him knocked out. So there is that element of intrigue that we don't really know how good he is. We expect him to lose, but we don't really know because for all we know, he could be a lot better than we think. Whereas Amir Khan, we've seen his limitations against people who are nowhere near as dangerous as Canelo. So we knew like what was going to happen in that. Yeah, we can kind of predict. Most people, like myself included, have predicted that Kell Brook will lose, but we don't know that for a fact. And Kell Brook is a lot better. If Kell Brook was fighting Canelo, I'd say that would be quite an evenly matched fight. You'd have to give Canelo the edge, but you'd say yeah, that would be kind of a bit more competitive. The problem is, I think Golovkin's a lot better than Canelo, so that potentially could nullify that advantage that Kell Brook has by being better than Amir Khan. So yeah, in terms of the fight, I think there is a difference. I think Kell Brook is a more credible, well, definitely is a more credible opponent. Um, but really, it's the situation surrounding it that means that the situation is not the same thing. If you choose to fight Amir Khan, having like the whole sort of boxing world at your feet around those two weight classes, you could fight anyone you want, and you choose to fight Amir Khan. That's not the same thing as like trying to fight credible opponents, including the person that we're making the comparison with. Another middleweight, everything's set up, you've got everything in place, it falls through, an opportunity presents itself, and you take it. Yes, I'm not saying that this is like a great fight for Golovkin. I just wanted to make the distinction between this situation and Canelo, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I think about it. Well, yeah, let me know if you agree or disagree. Thanks for watching.